The old house creaked. Dust motes danced in the pale sunlight. An unsettling stillness hung in the air, broken only by the ticking of a grandfather clock. This was the home of Eleanor Vance, a woman shrouded in an aura of melancholy, her eyes reflecting a past she couldn't outrun. Eleanor, they called her, haunted. Her smile, a fleeting shadow, her touch, cold as the draughts that snaked through the decaying mansion. She moved through the rooms like a ghost herself, her presence both ethereal and oppressive. The house whispered. At night, floorboards groaned under unseen footsteps. Shadows flickered at the edge of vision, gone before they could be placed. Eleanor, however, seemed unfazed, almost welcoming the disturbances. Eleanor had come to the old house seeking solace, or so she claimed. The mansion, with its creaking floors and whispering walls, seemed to call to her, offering a sanctuary from the relentless pain that had become her life. A refuge from a world that had shown her little kindness. The world outside was harsh and unforgiving, but within these walls she hoped to find a semblance of peace, a place where her tormented soul could rest. But the townsfolk spoke in hushed tones of a tragedy, a darkness that clung to her like a shroud. They remembered the vibrant woman she once was, now reduced to a shadow of her former self. They whispered of a child whose laughter once filled the air, whose presence brought light to Eleanor's life. A daughter gone too soon. Her absence left a void that nothing could fill, a wound that time refused to heal, a loss that had shattered Eleanor, leaving her a shell of the vibrant woman she once was. Her days were now filled with sorrow, her nights with haunting memories. Some said she never recovered, that the house fed on her grief, twisting it into something sinister. The mansion seemed to breathe with her pain, its very essence intertwined with her suffering.
She never recovered. The house fed on her grief, twisting it into something sinister. It was as if the walls themselves absorbed her anguish, reflecting it back in the form of eerie whispers and ghostly apparitions.
Eleanor spent her days wandering the sprawling gardens, her face etched with a perpetual sadness. The once beautiful gardens now mirrored her desolation, overgrown and neglected. She spoke to no one, her only companions the ghosts of her past and the secrets buried deep within the mansion walls. The echoes of her daughter's laughter and the memories of happier times were all that remained, haunting her every step. As days bled into weeks, the disturbances intensified. Objects moved inexplicably. Voices murmured from empty rooms, whispers too faint to decipher, yet heavy with sorrow and despair. Eleanor, however, seemed to understand. She would pause, her head cocked as if listening intently. A flicker of recognition of shared pain would cross her face, only to be quickly replaced by a mask of stoic acceptance. The line between reality and illusion began to blur.
Was it the house playing tricks? The whispers of the past weaving their way into the present?
Or was Eleanor's grip on sanity loosening, her mind conjuring horrors both real and imagined? One night, a storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil within the old house. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows as if trying to break free from its prison.
She's here.
Eleanor's carefully constructed facade crumbled. She woke with a gasp, her eyes wide with terror.
She's come back.
Who was she? The townsfolk had their suspicions, their whispers turning into hushed pronouncements. Eleanor, however, refused to speak, her silence fueling the growing sense of dread that permeated the house. The haunting was no longer subtle. It was a living, breathing entity, its presence suffocating, inescapable. Driven by a morbid curiosity and a growing sense of unease, the housekeeper, Mrs. Dudley, decided to confront Eleanor. She found her in the attic, a room shrouded in dust and cobwebs, the air thick with the scent of decay and forgotten memories.
She was so beautiful, but she was taken from me.
Mrs. Dudley's blood ran cold. The whispers had spoken of a child, but no one knew the details. Now, the truth began to unravel, revealing a past far more horrific than anyone could have imagined. As the storm raged outside, Eleanor confessed. The wind howled through the trees, and the rain pounded against the windows, mirroring the turmoil within her heart. It wasn't the ghost of her daughter that haunted the house, but her own guilt, her own unspeakable act. The walls seemed to close in on her, the shadows growing darker with each passing moment. Driven to despair by her loss, she had taken matters into her own hands. The weight of her decision bore down on her, a relentless force that she could no longer escape. She had ended her daughter's suffering, silencing her cries forever. The empty crib stood as a silent witness to her tragic choice, a symbol of the life that was no more. The crib, the whispers, the shadowy figure, all manifestations of her tormented mind, a constant reminder of her sin. Each night the whispers grew louder, the shadows more menacing, as if her guilt had taken on a life of its own. The revelation hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. It was as if the very walls of the house were absorbing her confession, the atmosphere thick with the weight of her words.
She was so beautiful. Her eyes sparkled with life. Her laughter was like music. But now all that remained were memories and a haunting silence. But she was taken from me. The pain of her loss was a constant ache, a wound that would never heal. I visit her grave often, hoping to find some solace, but the emptiness only grows.
Mrs. Dudley, horrified yet strangely sympathetic, could only watch as Eleanor, finally unburdened by her secret, collapsed to the floor, her body racked with sobs. The weight of her confession had taken its toll, leaving her a broken shell of the woman she once was. The house, however, seemed to sigh, the oppressive atmosphere lifting slightly, replaced by a chilling emptiness. It was as if the house itself had been holding its breath, waiting for this moment of truth. Now, with the secret revealed, it could finally exhale, leaving behind a haunting silence that echoed through its empty halls. The next morning the storm had passed, leaving behind an eerie calm. The air was thick with the scent of rain and the promise of something unsettling. The landscape, once vibrant, now lay in a desolate silence as if holding its breath. But the house remained, a silent sentinel to the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. Its dark windows seemed to watch the world with a knowing gaze, the overgrown garden a testament to the passage of time and neglect. Eleanor was gone, vanished without a trace. The room she once walked now stood empty, the echoes of her presence lingering like a ghostly whisper. The nursery, with its single rocking chair, seemed to mourn her absence. Some whispered that she had finally found peace, reunited with her daughter in the afterlife. The old photograph of a woman and child, now faded and worn, was a haunting reminder of what once was. Others claimed that she was still there, her tormented soul forever bound to the house, her cries echoing through the empty rooms. The ethereal mist that often surrounded the house seemed to hold her silhouette, a fleeting glimpse of her sorrow. The truth, like the house itself, remained shrouded in shadow, a chilling reminder that some secrets are too terrible to unearth, some wounds too deep to heal. The dark shadows and eerie lighting within the house only added to its mystique, a place where reality and the supernatural seemed to intertwine. And the old house stood silent, its walls whispering tales of grief, madness, and the enduring power of a mother's love, even in death. The dark attic, filled with cobwebs and old furniture, held secrets that no one dared to uncover. The moonlight cast long shadows on the exterior, giving the house an even more eerie atmosphere. Whispers of a ghostly presence could be felt by those brave enough to venture close. The overgrown garden, once a place of beauty, now served as a reminder of the passage of time and the stories that lingered within the walls.